Hello students, today you're going to take Cornell notes on compounds versus mixtures. This is the kind of notes where you write down the notes here, you copy what you see, and then on the left hand side you have questions that connect to it. Remember, the summaries and the advanced questions are worth the most points. Alright, let's begin. Alright, for number one, go ahead and write a compound. A compound is a pure substance composed of two or more elements that are chemically combined. Just like any video, just pause it if you need a minute or rewind it. And then I always give you the first question. You're supposed to come up with the rest, 2, 3, and 4. So for number one, write what is a compound? Or you can say, what is a compound made out of? Alright, let's look at some pictures. So these are elements that are combined. So they're chemical bonds, but they're also known as compounds. Some familiar compounds you might know is like table salt, which is a mixture of sodium. Another example of a compound would be water, which is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. So when two elements combine, we call this a compound. Carbon dioxide is an example of a compound. It's a mixture of carbon and oxygen. Alright, let's move on to number two. Most compounds can be broken down into their elements with heat or electricity. So in the lab where we had the battery, we ran it through water and it had a little bit of salt. We saw oxygen and hydrogen gas, a small amount because a stronger battery would yield more gases. But breaking down this compound water into hydrogen and oxygen is an example of how compounds can be broken down with heat or electricity. Alright, go ahead and come up with your question for 2, and then we'll move on to number 3. Alright, number 3. A mixture. A mixture is when you combine two or more substances, but they're not chemically combined. So here are some examples of some mixtures. Here's sugar water, here's water with some sand, and here's some water with some salt. All these are mixtures because they still have the properties of the original materials, and you can always get the materials back and separate it. So there isn't a chemical change. It's just a combination of two substances in a solution, but they're not chemically combined. Okay, go ahead and think up a question for number 3, and then moving on to number 4. Mixtures can usually be separated in a variety of ways, such as distillation, a magnet, through evaporation. So here's distillation. Distillation is when you use boiling to separate a mixture. A magnet, let's say you have a different combination of metals or metals in a water. You can use a magnet to attract the metals. A centrifuge is something that spins and can separate the different elements or components in the mixture. Alright, go ahead and come up with your question for 4, and then you're done for the Cornell notes. When you do your summary, your advanced question, move on to the next step. Have a good day.